Clayface. All right. So there's a new report that just came out because we're all still anticipating the Batman Part 2. Okay. I'm so excited for the Batman. I just want this thing to happen. And even Robert Pattinson's been making so many, answering so many questions because of Mickey 17 in theaters and right now. And he's just talking about, I hope I film this movie at the end of the year. I mean, I started the franchise off as young Batman. I'm gonna be old Batman by the time we start making this next movie, and he's being a little facetious, but I mean, he's been many years. Anyways, I think one of the biggest questions in our minds is who is the villain of the second movie. I think it's pretty obvious they're gonna end up going with Hush because that's just obvious. Like there's two frames of the Batman that just have the words Hush in your face. Pretty clear that's obviously where they want to go, but I wonder if that's not big enough and Matt Reeves wants to add other villains. Well, we had this report come out saying Clayface was reportedly planned as a villain in the Batman Part 2. The idea then shifted to a Reeves-verse spin-off before turning into the DCU project Clayface. Matt Reeves is producing as he originally came up with the idea. Could this shed some light to maybe some of the delays, some of the things going on with the movie? I mean, if Matt Reeves wrote the film with Clayface either as a main or a pretty big side villain, and now he had to take him out because now they're doing a movie for the DCU, that would shift some things around probably for him where he had to replace him with a different villain, move some things around. I don't know how to feel about this because I would have been really curious to see Matt Reeves' Clayface in the universe. It was not going to be the Blob monster. It was not. Matt Reeves has just been very clear. He likes to keep things grounded and realistic. So it was still, but it was still the grounded version would have been cool. A guy who's like cutting up faces, wearing them, an actor trying to portray different roles. That would have been pretty crazy to see done. And just this Batman chasing down a serial killer and getting all those clues would have been so great. But that's been taken down now, and it's become now the more shape-shifting fantasy version that'll be in the DCU. So, man, that also makes sense because when we first heard about this Clayface movie, it was going to be in the Matt Reeves universe, and there was possibly going to be a spinoff and whatnot, but now that's not looking to be the case. So now it's like, who is the villain then, dude? I would love it to be Mr. Freeze. That's like my number one pick. I think they're leading to Court of Owls in like the third movie, but I don't know. Let me just see what you guys rated R Batman. No. That would be awesome if they do rated R, but no. Professor Pig is cool, but that's like a side villain to me. Professor Pig is not main villain material. Like I remember when we were first hearing about Matt Reeves' Batman and we heard names like Penguin, Riddler, Joker, who else? Catwoman. Was there a couple other people? There was a plenty of villains showing up in the movie, and I was like, "Oh, it's crowded. It's not going to make sense." The way Matt Reeves did it, and with it being a living, breathing Gotham, where all these villains are just kind of out there, and one of them is the big focus, works so well. Professor Pig, I think, is a good side villain, where he's like just a guy that Batman visits on his journey to taking down the bigger bad, right? I don't know about the solo one. And it would have Professor Pig also definitely would have made sense with this plot because you need a surgeon or a guy who's maybe putting all these faces on. If you really think about it, Hush, Clayface, Professor Pig, they are all in the same category. These are guys who do either surgical surgery, remove faces, put them on themselves, and pretend to be other people. So it felt like there was a real identity thing going on with the Batman Part 2, where, again, I think the focus of this movie is going to be on the Bruce Wayne side of things, where Batman is now being having to be more Bruce Wayne than Batman and creating that persona and going out there, which I think is what was going to be happening. Like crazy doctors was definitely the theme of the early Batman villains, but now I just don't know. I'd love it to be Mr. Freeze, especially with that winter vibe, but 2027, my goodness, man, so far away. And even the actors right now not sounding that credible with like I think it'll be filming this year. I hope so. Who knows? I mean, even now I could bring up some of the Jeff Snyder stuff, which maybe take with a grain of salt. But every now and then, Jeff Snyder does being right. So let's see what he was talking about here. Let's see if I can find the actual news. He does that podcast thing with the hot mic. Let me see, Batman and he gave us some updates. I don't know how much to believe them or not. Come on, man, I gotta find this update. But he was basically saying that Robert Pattinson has actually read the full script, that they're still planning on making the movie at the end of this year. But the weird part that he was mentioning was that Matt Reeves doesn't have to get any permission from James Gunn on certain things. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. I'm like, James is pretty much there. I can't find it now. But either way, that stuff going on right now in the Batman sphere. I want to know from you guys. It looks like Clayface was originally going to be the villain. Now that's shifted away because Clayface is now in the DCU. And the way it's working, they want to have separate things where it's like they don't want to be doing the same thing over and over, give variety into their Batman. Since we now know it's a separate universe, and James Gunn did say last, he's like, no, Robert Pattinson stays in his own universe. Who do you guys hope is the villain in the Batman Part 2? Okay. Let's move on now. What's my next topic here? Spider-Man 4.